Gooners, football fans, we have the early echo in our broadcast. It's going away, it's going away. Welcome to the post Southampton edition of the Positively Uncensored Arsenal, and I'm very happy to have gotten up from our Easter Sunday slumber. Byso, welcome.
Thank you. I'm
We're
happy
gonna
to
make
be
a
here.
hopefully we can make a regular item on this podcast.
Hope so.
And as always, my good friend and colleague Blackburn George, who is now bookending the you. I am on my camera. I'm on the left, and George is on the right. George, how are you, sir?
Fine. Champion, dandy.
Champing at the bit, George and Byso. Before I start this revelation of the nightmare or description of the nightmare, just want to tell the fans, we need this is I think this is the only podcast that has consistently rejected the false and narratives about the post-Wenger era. Let me put it that way, consistently, without going overboard. And guys, and there are lots of people now who are coming to terms with that. But we need your support. I don't think we get enough support for the work we do. And we need more subscribers and people to listen. So I'm going to again ask, and if anything, put your comments. We have a few hardy souls, all very nice comments. They make, I see a couple last time around. But if you don't believe in the fake narratives and the fakes that have been around for a while, please give us a listen. That is my public service announcement for today. So, guys, 3 defeats in a row. Not able to score a goal. Goal, I said. There's obviously a goal. Very receding chances of ever making top 4. We have 7 games to go. But yesterday's defeat strikes me as fatal. Byso, 3 defeats, and Orbino says, first time since 1983-84 that Arsenal has had 3 successive defeats in a season. That's a landmark. That's a nightmare. Bysola.
Well, we're breaking all the wrong records right now, and that's not what we want to see since we're in the hunt for the top 4.
Yeah.
But I think at the end of the day, what we need to kind of realize is, in as much as we have faltered in trying to make top 4, the guys who we are competing against, Tottenham, will not be as consistent as well. So we are not totally out of it, but we didn't do ourselves any favors by losing yesterday, especially when we have we started that match in the knowledge that Tottenham lost and dropped 3 points. That was a time for us to capitalize on Tottenham's loss earlier in the day, and unfortunately we didn't. And we didn't even play with any such intensity. Like, we knew that our rivals had dropped points. We didn't play that way, and I think that for me was the more disappointing fact than the loss in itself.
Mm-hmm. Well, George, were you surprised? Were you surprised in any way? Because I'm trying to get this thing off, but I'm gonna try to get you up. Were you surprised in any way after you, me, and Ehab spoke about the lack of, what was it? Not just merely creativity, but the rigor, the way we played did not allow for the fear amongst the players to take chances. Were you surprised any at all at the way we played yesterday?
No, not at all, no. But, I mean, I've been having some fun on Twitter this last 18 hours. But really, we didn't play that badly, you know.
Yes.
And we played much better than we have against Palace and who was the other one we managed to lose to? Brighton.
Brighton, yes.
At home. Those were terrible. But I thought, you know, it wasn't great, but it wasn't shocking either. I mean, Arteta's right. You look at the stats. We should have won that game 2 or 3 times over, but we didn't. And people only look at the score at the end of the day. I mean, 83% possession in the second half, was it?
Yes, you're right.
20-odd shots on goal.
6 on target.
Yeah, 6 on target, but that's a thrashing, really. And we lost. What can you do? I mean, I don't want to be hypocritical. When that used to happen with Arsenal, I had all the excuses in the world for it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not now going to point the finger at Arteta and say that's your fault. Because although he's in some ways responsible, we would win that game 9 times out of 10 at least. And the problem was for me, and is and has been for the last few weeks, Martinelli, Saka, and Odegaard are nowhere near as good as people thought they were.
Mm-hmm.
They are not world class. They're decent prospects. World class, they're not. And if you view it through that prism, what do you expect? You know, these lads didn't turn up yesterday. The front 3 or 4. So that's it. Who else could you have played? What else could you have done?
Well, you know, George, also, and I remember that also was a point that the last time we did a post game that Byso,
Yeah.
who the chauvinist and misogynist says doesn't know anything about football. But Byso said that Saka was not playing well. So you have a point there. But Byso, I'm sure you're not surprised by the fact that he was bottled up. They had one guy that basically shepherded him into the middle of the park and forced him to take bad shots, right? I know you're not surprised. But in contrast to what Georgia said, this is 3 games. And Orbino says we have had 63 shots. I hope I'm absolutely correct about the number. And 2 goals in the last 3 games. There's a pattern here. I know George and I agreed. Fraser Foster, about 6 years ago, we pounded him and we lost the game. So me and George came on his blog and we said we should have won. So we don't want to be hypocritical. But 63 games, 2 goals, something isn't right there, Byso.
I think we need to, if we look at all 3 games,
yes,
you know, based on their merits,
yes,
we played much better yesterday. We did play much better. The fact that we lost has a lot to do with Fraser Foster than say we were bad at creating chances. He made at least 4 really, really excellent saves.
True.
And so it means that, you know, we were not perfect. Maybe if we were more clinical, for example, the Saka chance, perhaps if he had hit the ball more cleanly,
the one that's Foster saved,
would not have had that chance to save that particular goal.
The first one, the first shot at Foster.
The first chance, the one that came in the 12th minute, I believe, right? You know, but otherwise, I don't think we played as badly as we did in the other games. And if we had deserved any point in any of these 3 games, it should have been this game from yesterday. So that's literally what I believe. But again, when you look at the starting lineup and the fact that we had Martinelli on the right and Saka on the left, For me, it threw me for a loop. I don't know if that was supposed to be like a tactical, change that Arteta made to try to confuse Southampton, or it was the fact that he didn't want both Martinelli and Nuno Tavares on one side, because both of them, they tend to lose the ball more often than than the rest of their teammates.
Yes.
So that could be the reason why he had Saka move right to the left. But we've seen that even if Saka can play really well on the left, Martinelli is not that efficient, or not that his contribution is not that great when it comes from the right. So if that was what he had in mind, perhaps he could have started Emil Smith Rowe on the right, who knows how to play from the right, and had Martinelli coming off, from the bench, So I think we shot ourselves a little bit in the foot with, making that change. I mean, it's when you have young players like that, switching and changing their positions, it's not easy for them to adapt the way, for example, a veteran would, adapt on their wrong side, or on their better side, on their worst side. So we may have done a little bit of damage there. But when you look at this game in isolation, it wasn't a game that I can look at in retrospect and say we deserve to lose, right? Fraser Foster was just on his game, and he made some really, really great saves. We may not have played enough to win, but we could have come out with a draw.
But I don't know which one of you want to answer this, but I not only did Martinelli and Saka not execute, but George Odegaard Odegaard did not do his reputation any good. They have it. Arteta had him out on the right, and George, he didn't even. I don't even think he flattered. I mean, he had a couple of shots towards the end, but am I just seizing on this guy? People say, "Well, Shotta, you never liked him from the beginning," but it's not that. I mean, where's the Odegaard to grab this? Give him the armband. He was given the armband, and to grab the game by the scruff of the neck. I mean, this is what we expected, or what we hoped, George.
Well, I say every week, play as many of your best players in the best position as possible.
Right.
And again, we didn't. We switched Saka and Martinelli to the wrong side. Tavares wasn't a problem yesterday.
No, he wasn't.
He'd have been all right on his own. We dominated the game. There was no need to cover for him. He did all right. Play your best players in the right positions. And maybe it was time for Smith Rowe to start in the number 10 position instead of Martin Odegaard.
Number 10 out on the right, George.
I don't really like that position, that deeper right-hand side position that he takes up. It's all right if he's linking up play with Saka, but Saka was on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
So that link-up that is so effective was never going to be effective. So I don't know. I think Mikel Arteta overthought it yesterday, and he has to be responsible for that. But even so, I'm not going to be overcritical, because we should easily have won that game, and I thought some of the. I mean, Ben White didn't cover himself with glory again.
Yes.
But I mean, there's people pointing the finger at Sambi Lokonga. I thought he played all right.
He did.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I don't know why people are blaming him, but they're blaming him because they don't want to blame the favourites. That's the problem. Nobody wants to point the finger at Saka, Odegaard, and Martinelli. So we'll look round. Who else can we blame? it's Partey being missing and Lukongo's not up to replacing him. Well, let me just tell you this. Lukongo played 10 times better than Partey did in his last outing.
But George, you're committing sacrilege. It is not. It's not. And I'm going to show you. Okay, I'm going to bring it up. There's a major figure in the Arsenal social media camp. Maybe I should call his name. But he had a tweet yesterday who said that in their podcast, a big podcast, they agreed that Partey is the best player, is the most important player, and he's like Cazorla. And this is why I had that the nightmare for Arsenal is a nightmare for the narratives. He had this tweet that he didn't hide it. I don't listen to the podcast. But George, why are they so wrong? I have another, go ahead. Why are they why are they so wrong? I'll give you a chance at that.
Well, I don't know if they are wrong. They think they're right. Just hang on a second.
Okay, well, we'll go to you then, Byso.
Yeah.
Why are they so wrong? Why are they so wrong? Or are they wrong at all? What is George listening?
I think we did miss Partey yesterday. You will always miss any member of your first 11, regardless. But I don't think we had a Hall of Fame, or Hall of Shame performance from Lokonga to be able to point at the fact that we didn't have Partey as the reason why we lost that match yesterday. Mm-hmm. I don't think. It could have been a factor, but I don't think it was such a huge factor because we did dominate the game, right?
Well, yes.
So, we did dominate the game. It had to do with what we were doing with the ball when we had the ball. It wasn't a case of, and I did see Lokonga, make some really nice passing into Odegaard, but I think the issue we had yesterday was we had a one-dimensional attack. We had Odegaard from the right just, lift the ball into that left half space and hope we have an Arsenal player there ready to take the ball off the air and do something with it. And Odegaard made that same cross at least 6 times that I remember counting yesterday.
Yeah.
We don't even have the players with the height to compete for the ball, right? We had on the left side, we had Saka and Nuno Tavares. So who is going to compete in the air against those Southampton defenders? We should have, and Eddie was up front as well.
Yeah,
so for me, I think
he's a
we
giant.
should get the ball on the floor, on the ground, and play football. Make them play football, as opposed to just sending this ball up into the air, into the left half space, and hoping there's an Arsenal player. Because more often than not, we had a Southampton player just head that ball away. We did that too many times yesterday, and there was no variety in our attack. And I think that was one of the things that killed our game. If we had, maybe put in a little bit of effort in changing how we attacked, perhaps we could have come up with a really clear-cut chance. But I think that was what happened yesterday. It was a one-dimensional attack that Southampton was well-suited to defending, and we didn't have an answer, we didn't have a backup plan to change it and put them they were too comfortable letting us have the ball. We talk about us having possession, but they were comfortable letting us have it.
Oh, yes.
And that was the problem, right? If a team is comfortable with you having possession, it means that your attack is toothless, right? They were comfortable defending because they knew exactly what we were going to do. And for me, that is one of the reasons why Arteta has this record of not being able to turn around games when we go behind. Because we just keep doing the same thing. Even if it doesn't work on that day, we keep doing the same thing. We have to find different ways to attack.
George, you must disagree with Byso. Come on.
I don't know. I'm not You think I'm stupid? I'm not disagreeing with Byso. She'll have me my arse on the plate. But to get back to the question you asked about why, and it's Arsenal vision that you're talking about, and it's
Yes.
still in
Yes.
particular. You know, let's not pussyfoot about it.
Yes.
And it's included that Partey was our most important player. Why? I'll tell you why. Because they've pinned the colours to Arteta's mast, and they have to find an excuse for this awful, shocking run of results. And that excuse is the simplest. Occam's razor, or whatever you want to call it.
Yes, Occam's razor.
and it's
the simplest explanation. The simplest explanation is the most correct. Correct. Yes.
So it's Partey being missing means that Arteta's excused. That's the excuse that they're sticking with, and it's the favourite excuse at the moment, and it works for them because it doesn't mean that they've been so wrong and on their analysis of how we were progressing and how good the system was. I mean, I've seen threads 60 tweets long explaining how fantastic Arteta's positional system is and explaining it to all those idiots. Well, it's that good, we can't score a fucking goal. That's how good it is. But and they're all looking for an excuse. But to be fair, they do have one excuse left. There's one excuse that they can use that is very valid. And you've got to hold your hand up and say, that works. And you can't dispute it. And that excuse is as simple as this. No, mate, fuck off. I like Arteta. And that's it.
Well, you know,
you can put all the facts and figures. Our mate Phil just fucking tweeted something the other day about the other minute about how this is the worst return. We have to go back to George Graham to find a manager that has been unable to turn round a 1-0 deficit more than Arteta. And it's facts.
I saw a stat, George.
And they don't facts. People are bringing facts to an opinion gunfight, and they don't like facts. And
well, let me give you some facts here, George. Let me give you some facts here, George and Byso. This is from Albino. People look on my screen. We have the worst differential between goals and expected goals in the Premier League. We are worse than Leeds. Worse than Watford. Well, good old Brighton is not in the drop zone, just close. Are you seeing these figures? And yet people are saying that Arteta will change it. Will turn it around. Byso, I saw a figure that we have come back only twice during our from behind. Come back to win games twice, and Arteta has been here for 2 years at least.
Once in the Europa and once in the league, and the 2 times, guess who scored those goals?
I can't even guess because you're
Pepe.
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 Yes, good old Pepe coming from the bench. Yes.
Yeah. Came from the bench against Wolves, right?
Right.
And that's the only time we've done it in the Premier League under Arteta. You know, there is a case to be made for us getting more clinical finishers, but at the same time, we don't create nearly enough. And if we keep, going back to this, the guys need to be more clinical. At what rate do you want them to be scoring these goals? Because the average, a good striker maybe goes between 20% to 23% of goals scored. And I think as of last year, Lacazette was on 23%, which was the best ratio in the Premier League for the last 2 years.
Until Arteta threw him in midfield.
And Lacazette has, and this is why I keep telling people, and I have a lot of time for Lacazette, because in as much as we know his physicality is not there, he gets tired, really often and all of that. when he does get chances, he's actually one of the more clinical finishers we have in the Premier League. Unfortunately, this season he's done a lot more work in the midfield. And when you're doing that much work in the midfield, it's so difficult to maintain that efficiency and that sharpness to be able to score goals.
Yeah.
And it's no surprise that his efficiency has dropped this season. I don't know what it is, but I know that as of last year he was 23%,
No, he's gone.
which
No, he's
was
gone
the
15
best
matches.
ratio in the Premier League.
No, he's gone 15 matches, I think. Don't quote me on this, guys, without scoring a goal from open play.
No, I mean shots to goal,
right.
shots conversion, right?
Yeah.
Because we all moan about Lacazette not being in the box, but how do you want him to be in the box when he's deep in the midfield? And let's face it, maybe we could have a striker who is able to drop that deep and arrive in the box much better than Lacazette would ever do it. But what will be his efficiency? How will he be able to finish when he's doing all of that work? There's an effect. It's you can't have it both ways. You have to kind of take your chances with, do we want this guy more involved in build-up play, or do we want him in the box, ready, sharp, waiting to pounce on the ball and finish it off? So if you have a striker who is dropping deep, then what you need are extremely efficient wide forwards. That is what Liverpool has. That is what Man City has. Yeah. So when we're looking at goals, we need to look at a wide forward much more than we look at the guy in the middle who is being tasked to drop deep and do a lot more work than a center forward in any other club would be able to do. So it's a balancing act, right? And we don't have the balance correct, and we just need to try to address that in the transfer market. It's no surprise what we're seeing right now. And Saka and ESR and Martinelli, they have prospects, but they're not the finished product. Right. So them missing chances or them not, being at the races in some games should be expected, and we should have planned for that. But we're not using Pepe, who maybe could help in this regard. So it remains to be seen, what the issue is with Pepe and the manager, but we'll see.
But Byso George, we're gonna sell Pepe for peanuts this summer. We're gonna get rid of Lacazette, and according to the narrative online, Arteta is not going anywhere. Your boy Legrove is asking for more pace and power. He's been asking for that for 10 years and slagging and slandering Wenger because he put emphasis on creating chances with technical players. And I had to bring him in there because this is the seed these guys have sown for the past 15 years and still on this stupid narrative. So, George, where are we going? Who's going to pay the price for this nightmare on Arsenal Street?
That remains to be seen. I still don't think Arteta will go.
Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I made a technical error. Come again, George. Yes.
I don't think Arteta will go, and I don't think he should go. I think we're too far. We're in too deep for that. But Lacazette will go. Eddie will go. We'll have to bring somebody in. But like Byso said, we have a problem here because we keep telling everybody that Martinelli and Saka are world class, but the reality is that they don't score or create enough goals. So either they're not world class or something else is wrong.
Coaching.
And the only thing that can be wrong is the system.
Right.
So either Arteta's system is wrong or the fans' evaluation of Martinelli and Saka are wrong. Which is it? Take your pick. And it's Hobson's choice here, isn't it? They don't want to pick either because by picking one, they're making their own argument look ridiculous that we're improving and we've got all these fantastic players. Or we've got a fantastic manager. One of them's got to go. One of these arguments has got to go. So we'll see who pays the price. Well, I mean, we're talking about bringing in a striker who'll score goals. I tell you what it is. There isn't a striker. If Henry was with us, he'd struggle to fucking score goals with the service that our strikers get.
But Aubameyang had.
Aubameyang scored everywhere.
He scored everywhere and scored 2 goals in his last like 7 games with us.
But you know, I can even accept Aubameyang didn't suit the system. But the system meaning a deeper sitting number 9 who came into midfield, like Firmino.
Yeah, Firmino.
And but that means that you have to have 2 prolific goal-scoring wide players.
Right.
You look at Manchester City. I mean,
look at Liverpool, George. I mean, that's
well,
and what's his name?
Well, that's what we're talking about. They do have 2 prolific strikers. Manchester City, they don't have an out-and-out striker.
Correct.
But Mahrez has got 20 odd goals this season. You know, they score from all over. And then people tell you that, you know, this system, positional, say, it's a bit like City's.
Yeah.
No, it's not. Manchester City get the ball and they creep up because you can't get the ball off them. They're getting closer and closer to your goal all the time because you can't get the ball off them. We don't get that close to goal because we just give the ball back to them. Thomas Partey, he'll pass it to them if you say boo, he'll pass it to you. Like, shits his pants. So it's difficult. I can't see this system working. I've said that all along. And but we'll see. Maybe he'll change again. Maybe he'll drop on a system that does work. Because let's be honest, he dropped on this system. This wasn't his preferred system. It started off even the complete opposite where we are now. He started off, he came in going for old, established players.
Right?
Yeah. And that didn't work. So he changed it to the very opposite, was young, inexperienced players. You know, a complete 180. So
George,
maybe he'll do 180 with his system as well. I don't know.
George, listeners, I'm still struck with the narrative that we have no choice. I mean, we had our hands, George. You said we had both hands on the top 4 trophy. I said we had 1. But regardless, you know, we're splitting the difference here. And no, that top 4 trophy is sliding out of our hands. We have the next 7 games, Chelsea away. I have the 7 games, 4 away, 3 at home against some teams with something to play for. Byso, if we get back into top 8, somebody is gonna have to pay the price.
You mean if we finish 8th?
Yes, there's a follower who's been saying we're gonna finish 10th. I don't know if you see him, but anyway.
No, I haven't. No.
Yeah, he's always cursing me that we are remaining too optimistic. He doesn't have any followers, but he tags me all the time. But you know what I'm saying?
No, I mean I do understand what you're saying, and you know, if this were any other club, and you know, let's say hypothetically we finish 8th.
Yes.
That would be 8th, finish 8th, 3 seasons in a row.
Yes.
You know, any club that's ambitious would say, you know what, we've done our best. We've backed you in the market to the tune of 250 million. And we can finish higher than 8th.
Yes.
I think maybe we need to go in a different direction. But that's not Arsenal Football Club. And like George said, I believe we're in too deep with Arteta, and the club will see this to the bitter end. I don't
Guys,
see any other way.
I
They're going
I
to give
don't
him
know,
another season. They're
I
going to give
don't
him
know.
another transfer window. They're going to give him another season, and they're going to see how it goes.
He has to get. I remember you saying on Twitter, he has to get 3 new players. He has to replace Pepe. He has to replace Lacazette, and he's going to have to get somebody in midfield. And people are over on online lining up the most expensive players you can find in Europe. George, I don't know. At some point, this has to break. George, I'm not being pessimistic, but I don't know. I
What,
really
what you've
don't.
got,
That's a
what you've got,
difficulty.
what you've got to understand, or what I try to hold in the back of my mind is that Cronkies will think, they will look at the spending of us compared to others,
Yes.
and they will conclude that top 6 is a good position for Arsenal Football Club. Obviously, they would want to be top 4. They would want to win it, but they'll also understand that the amount of spending required to do that is something they don't want to do. So I think if we're top 6, they'll be thinking that's a job well done. I think they'll have realised now that Arsenal carried them for years, and it's not that easy. I think they understand the reality. Well, I'm sure they understand the realities of sports and sport finance. And I think if we get 5th or 6th, they'll think that's a job well done, and it'll be under no threat at all. And if we continue to get top 6, they'll be happy with that as well, because top 4 means a lot of spending to get there and maintain it. And we as fans want top 4. We want to challenge for the league. We want to win the league. But they're not fans. They're realistic owners of a sport franchise. And they'll look at it and think, the law of diminishing returns says that I have to spend that much to get that little, that I'm not prepared to do it. The only clubs that are prepared to spend that much are Manchester City, Manchester United because of the turnover, and it was Chelsea. Even Liverpool don't do it. Liverpool are just on a hot streak at the moment. But people don't want to accept it. But the reality is, if we get top 6, I think the Cronkies will think that's okay. It's okay for this year, and it's okay going forward.
Well, I'm going to add a thing here for you guys to round this out. Next 7 games, Byso, you're going to have to fight the first bite at this cherry. Chelsea away, United at home, West Ham away, Leeds at home, Spurs away, Newcastle away, who want to go further. I don't know if they wanted, it was playing in the background, but when we started, it was still going on. So
They won at the death. 2-1.
They did?
Yeah.
George and I spoke of the revival of the tune, and Everton, who is on the verge of being relegated. By so, even top 6 looks like a stretch, could be a stretch. Your thoughts on this?
Well, I think top 6 is, if we miss out on top 4, I think we'll still finish top 6. I mean, who's going to be above us? West Ham? I don't think so, because they don't have the depth, and they are still in Europe, and that's going to affect their form. They just drew to Burnley, and I don't see them, climbing above us in the league. So I think we'll finish top 6. Where between 4th and 6th we will finish is not very clear. But our running is the most difficult of the 3 fighting for top 4, Manchester United and Tottenham. And we still have to play each one of those teams, right? So it's like those are like cup finals, and then you add on top of that Chelsea and West Ham. It's going to be really, really tough, and it's going to take a miracle for us to finish top four. But at the same time, Tottenham are a team that find it difficult to get consistency, and they find it more difficult to put away the smaller teams than the big teams. So there's hope yet, because they have a lot of matches against the lower half of the table in the running. So you never know.
And you, George, looking on this this running.
Well, we could quite easily lose to Chelsea, United, West Ham, and Spurs. We could easily lose 4 out of those games. So that leaves you with Leeds at home, Newcastle away, and Everton at home. We should win those 3. So anything between 9 points upwards is about where I see us. Let's say we win one of those games against the other 4. So 12 points. That's about it. I see us getting about 12 points from the remaining fixtures.
And is that going to be enough?
If we improve.
Is that going to be enough?
No.
We are 54 points, right? We are 54, correct? 12 points makes us 66. Nobody qualified for top 4 12 with 66 points. That I can recall. We are 54 points.
I don't think we'll qualify for top 4. But like I say, if we get top 6 back in the Europa League, people will say it's moving in the right direction, so you'll keep the fans happy. You know what I'm saying? They'll say, oh, we're moving in the right direction. We're back in the Europa League, Champions League next. And Cronkies will take that. We're moved in the right direction. And they'll not say it, but they'll be thinking, as long as we stay here, we're happy. And that's the problem. That's the problem as I see it. The difference between fans' ambition and the ambition of the owners. And I'm not saying the owners should be more ambitious or spend more. It's their money. They can spend what they fucking want. And they can stay self-sustaining. I have no problem with that at all. But the problem is fans won't accept that. That means that we're probably a top 6 team now, as far as the owners are concerned. And that will keep them happy. They'll never, ever come out and admit that. They'll always say they're striving for top 4. They'll always say our goal is to win it and improve. The same sound bites will come out that have come out for the last 15 years. But the reality is, top 6, a place in Europe, European football, and they'll be happy with that, in my opinion.
Byso, I think George makes a compelling argument.
Yeah, absolutely.
But before to wrap this up, a lot of people who have sympathies for us, but they're all now Arteta must go. So where are they going to go? Because we are saying it's unlikely that he will go, and that he'll change direction. So what is your advice to all these good people who will probably reject what George says?
They're just going to have to be patient. There's nothing that they can do. By design, like George said, this club has been designed to be a top 16. Just keep us, in and among that group. And if we go higher than that, it's not going to be by design. It's just going to be like, maybe the stars did align at some point. But it's getting more difficult. You have a team like Newcastle that have all that money in the world.
Coming in.
They're going to come in and make things more difficult. We don't know what's going to go on with Chelsea, but if they do remain a superpower in the game, so there's just going to be like 7 big clubs fighting for top 6, we're just going to have to be patient. I think if we manage our expectations, the frustrations that we feel every week is not going to be as high. And like just say, you just have to realize that we are a top system, and we're probably going to remain that way for the foreseeable future, unless something changes. Unless the owners change, or somehow they become, in over a decade of their ownership, become suddenly ambitious. But we're not seeing it, and the fact that they are copying the model from the NFL,
Right.
thinking that it's not
Make the
it's
playoff 1 or 2 times every few
not going
years.
to work. It's not going to work. I mean, you
Yes.
can't expect someone like Bukayo, for example. He goes to the England national team, and he's going to be looking at Grealish, literally just coasting the whole season, and he's about to become a Premier League champion. He's going to want that for himself.
100 and something million.
And if we're not moving forward,
Yeah.
As a club, he's going to start, getting cold feet and want to, move to a club where he can win trophies, because that's all there is to it in this game. Every club can pay whatever money that a player wants. The differentiator now is, can they win titles? And it's going to be hard to keep a hold of the players we want to keep a hold of if we're not moving forward. But like George said, going from 8th to 6th this season, is a step change in the right direction. But we missed a big, big, big chance this season to finish top 4.
Obviously. George, you want to say something, because I'm going to wrap up?
Yeah, I'm just saying, I sort of agree, but I don't think it's a case of us having to be patient. I think we've got to change our expectations. We've got to accept different expectations. And until we do, we're all constantly going to be unhappy.
Well,
because, if you set your expectations too high, you don't match them. You can't match them. You certainly can't match them consistently. It's like, it'd be like a bloody Leicester fan expecting to win the league now every year because they won it once. It's just not realistic, is it? And if that's what they expect every year, they're going to be disappointed every year.
Well, I'm going to close this off. To me, listening to the two of you, it's a very sobering, very sobering. And it, to be honest, I think for a majority of the fans, this is not a message they want to hear. Most of these people on social media are saying, we should be back competing for top 4.
Well, we should this year. That's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a fact. Even if we didn't believe it at the beginning of the season, because of the way we started, midway through this season, we knew that there was a big, big chance.
Mm-hmm.
And we came into the January window, instead of solidifying our chances, we actually jeopardized it with what we did in the January transfer window. And
we didn't even have to do anything in the January window.
Right.
Just keep the players we fucking had.
Right.
Would have given us a decent chance, a much better chance. But instead of that, no.
Wage cut.
Cut the wage bill. Yes. Cut the wage bill FC. And everybody was celebrating it like we'd fucking done something really clever.
It didn't make sense.
Absolute fucking nonsense. I mean, look at, if you'd have kept Seed, surely you would have been able to fucking play with Tierney out.
And you're in one competition, guys. One effing competition.
One fucking competition.
Anyway, I'd like to hear your comments, the listeners. I'm pleading with you, those of you who, anybody.
The problem is, Shotta, the problem here is you're pleading with people to watch and listen, and they're already watching and listening. They won't help us. They've already watched and subscribed.
Yes.
You can ask them all they want. They've done it.
I know, but
they've got to tell other people to watch and listen.
Yes.
And maybe it's not worth watching and listening to. Although I must say, it's worth watching and listening to Byso.
No, she's not a little George. Yeah. No, George, she's very knowledgeable,
I'm never mind knowledgeable. She looks
and
gorgeous.
you know, look at that setup.
I'm being,
She wears
I'm
that
being,
hoodie with class. She wears
I'm
that
being,
hoodie.
hey, listen, I'm old enough now that I can be chauvinist.
She won't kill you online. Guys, as always, thanks. It was good. Looks like the nightmare is going to continue. I have this as nightmare for Arsenal. Oh, God. Anyway, thank you very much. Until we get together again on Friday, George and others. Bye.
Bye, everybody.